Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com is in the house. He's here to answer your fantasy football questions for week number 8. Yes, here we are, week 8, ready to go. Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, 609-403-0973. Hunter will compile your questions. Already got a lot of them coming in, so keep them coming. 609-403-0973 on the PlaySugarHouse.com text board. Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. Let's get into it. We have Thursday night football tonight. It's Atlanta and Carolina. Not a great game, but seems like there's a lot of offensive firepower in the game, Jeff. Who are you playing tonight?
Pretty much everybody. I think the total in this game is 52 points, and it's a 2-point spread. So you're looking for Atlanta and Carolina each get to 25 points or more. That's 3 touchdowns a side. So start both quarterbacks, Todd Gurley and Mike Davis, because Christian McCaffrey's still out for another week. Both those guys are got to be in your lineups. Julio Jones, you got Robbie Anderson, you got Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, and even Russell Gage and Samuel are options at flex. And you also got the tight end for Atlanta, Hurst, the former Raven. So, and Joey Sly, a kicker. All those guys are viable options. So get as many Atlanta, Carolina players as you can.
All right, let's take a look at the fantasy for Sunday. Let's start at some quarterbacks, running backs, wideouts. Of course, 609-403-0973. Send us your questions for Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com. All right, let's look at some quarterbacks here. Week number 8, Sunday slate. Here we go. Teddy Bridgewater up against Atlanta. We talked about the Thursday night game there. Let's throw him out. That's the Thursday night game. You just mentioned that. So let's look at Josh Allen against New England. Allen's been struggling a little bit here. So Josh Allen against New England.
Yeah, Buffalo's running game has not been that proficient, and Allen can run the ball himself. New England's not looking very good, and this is kind of like the statement game for Buffalo to really say it's their division going forward. Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback this week.
All right, get him back out there because he's been struggling a little bit, top 5. All right, how about Justin Herbert against Denver? This kid has been lighting up the scoreboard here. What do you think about a fantasy play?
Yeah, Denver's not looking too good. Kansas City just lit them up. Herbert has been looking pretty good. There is a little bit of concern because we just had an offensive lineman test positive for the Chargers. But we think that this game is going to still go on, and I like Herbert as a starting quarterback this week.
What are you doing with Cam Newton? He's starting to struggle, and he talked about his job being in jeopardy if he doesn't play well. He was awful last week.
Yeah, it's a bye week again, so if you need him, I guess you put him out there, but there's at least 15 better options this week.
Tua fans, if you picked up Tua, you drafted him, and you were holding on to him, should he be active?
Not against the Rams. Aaron Arnold is going to probably squash him at least twice. Yes, he can run, but he's going to be scrambling and make rookie mistakes.
All right, Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com. A couple more quarterbacks here. Let's go to, what about Baker Mayfield now that he doesn't have OBJ?
Yeah, that's kind of, they still are more of a run team than a pass team. The Raiders are better than you think. Mayfield's just a little bit better than Cam Newton, but still not a QB1 this week.
All right, and then let's throw this one your way and go with Jimmy Garoppolo. Seattle's defense is pretty bad. Do you put Garoppolo under center for your fantasy team?
I think that's going to be an interesting matchup between those two. San Francisco's still going to try and want to run the ball and play some good defense. Garoppolo has not been on target at all this year. They've been mostly doing some quick handoffs and some some jet sweeps to get Garoppolo a little bit extra yards, but Garoppolo is more of a QB2 than a QB1 against Seattle.
All right, I guess I got to ask you about Wentz, too. I mean, he's going up against a dreadful Dallas defense. Is Wentz a guy you want to play?
Absolutely. He's a top 8 guy. I think he's got to get out there, and some lesser-known guys like Joe Burrow. I think all those guys got to be out there, even against Tennessee for Burrow. You got to get some quarterbacks out there and look for some interesting names to be thrown out there for quarterback this week with some 4 buys on slate.
All right, let's go over to the running backs here. Don't forget, get your questions in for Jeff, 609-403-0973. We'll answer your questions here in just a second. All right, let's go to Josh Jacobs against Cleveland. He's kind of sputtered a little bit since his first big week.
Yeah, but the Raiders are coming off of they had their bye. I think that their offensive line, they were struggling because they all tested positive once, and they came home, and then they came back. Josh Jacobs is in a better matchup now. He's going to be just fine as a running back 1 this week.
All right, let's go over to Darrell Henderson playing for the Rams up against Miami. I know that Rams running back situation's a little wonky.
Yeah, he seems to be the lead back there. Not that that's too much of a feather in his cap. They're more of a passing team, but Henderson's a solid running back too, and he's definitely viable for a lineup this week.
All right. What about a guy like Giovanni Bernard this week? A lot of people wondering, if Mixon's out, is he a play?
Joe Mixon was missing again from practice again today. That makes Gio Bernard a running back one, even against a tough Tennessee defense.
All right. How about that? There you go for people out there. How about Mike? Not Mike Davis. James Conner. Mike Davis played Thursday game. James Conner against that Baltimore team.
Baltimore's a very tough defense, and Conner, while he's borderline running back one, so he's playable. They're mixing in with Snell and they're throwing the ball a lot. I think Conner is viable. He's more of a running back one this week because the 4 teams on a bye, but he's not a high-end running back one.
All right. I want to get your thoughts then on the Seattle running back situation because it looks like there's a lot of injuries there.
Yeah, they're saying that the lead back there is week to week, Chris Carson. But Carlos Hyde is probably going to be your guy, and also as a sleeper guy to pick up, DJ Dallas for Seattle, just as a deep threat. He may not see much work this week, but he's getting a little bit more work. But the guy this week is Carlos Hyde in Seattle.
All right, let's see. And we go to Tampa Bay, Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette. What's that situation looking like?
Yeah, the coach has said Leonard Fournette's more of a, what do you call, a nickelback, which is kind of interesting play on words for offense, but he's more of a third down back and a receiver, which hasn't really been his role in the past, but that's how they're using him. So Ronald Jones is still the goal line guy. So both these guys are viable, but Ronald Jones is going to have better performance.
What about Zeke Elliott owners? I know he's playing Philly, and, of course, that offense has got all sorts of problems with the line. What are you telling Zeke Elliott owners?
I think they're going to have to rely on Zeke. I think Zeke's going to try and rebound from his fumbles game. I think that Philly is always the tough matchup for him, but I think he's still a running back one. They got to run him out there. He's going to get at least 20 touches again this week.
Let's go to the wide receivers. Jeff Pasquino, footballguys.com, answering your Week 8 fantasy football questions here. All right, let's look at how about let's go to Justin Jefferson back this week against Green Bay after the bye.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson, he seems to have really locked down that second wide receiver. Minnesota is interesting because they really want to run the ball. Dalvin Cook could be back this week. But Jefferson has some big play potential. He's a wide receiver 3 with upside.
All right. What about Cole Beasley, on pace for about 90 catches this year?
Yeah, he's more of a volume guy in Buffalo. Again, going back to having Josh Allen good this week, I think Cole Beasley is a wide receiver 3.
All right. How about you look at the injury to OBJ? Who picks up the slack there?
Yeah, you got to look at Jarvis Landry, but Higgins is going to be Rashard Higgins. I think is going to be the wide receiver 2 for Cleveland. He's more of a flex play, not just out of the wide receiver 3. Harrison Bryant is also going to get some work at tight end, so both those guys can pick up some of the slack.
All right, a couple more real quick with Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com. Let's go to Devontae Parker there. How are those wide receivers going to fare with Tua?
Well, Parker is going to be tough because he may not get the volume because he's more of the deeper threat, but I like the tight end a little bit more. Tight ends tend to get a little more work with rookie quarterbacks, but Parker should still be viable as a wide receiver 3.
All right, last guy we'll throw your way at the wide receivers before we get to our listener questions, 609-403-0973. A lot of people probably drafted T.Y. Hilton pretty high, so what do you recommend for him now?
Well, the Colts have not been that strong at passing, but T.Y. Hilton's still the number 1 wide receiver. So they tend to favor the running backs and the tight ends because Philip Rivers doesn't have the big arm. But Hilton's a good possession receiver, kind of like the Larry Fitzgerald mold. I think he's quality in the wide receiver 3 this week against Detroit.
All right, we got a bunch of questions from our listeners again this week. If you have a question, keep them coming, 609-403-0973. Stay tuned. Jeff will give us some sleepers, some waivers, and other guys that he is playing in his lineup this week. But first, let's get some listener questions in.
All right, here we go. Herbert or Tannehill?
Tannehill is one name I was going to mention. So Tannehill against the Bengals is a really good matchup. I like him over Herbert.
Teddy Bridgewater or Derek Carr?
I would go with Bridgewater, but Carr is also a QB1 this week. Borderline, so I like Bridgewater a little bit better against Atlanta. That's terrible.
Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Derek Carr. Needs one.
I would go Tom Brady, Matt Ryan. I would go Tom Brady. I think the Giants are just that bad, and that offense is clicking to the passing game right now.
All right, I can't believe I'm saying this name, but Travis Fulgham or Cup?
Kupp is the possession receiver for the Rams. I like him on volume. I think that Dallas is going to look to shut down Fulgham and see who else can beat them.
Ayuk or Higgins?
I would go with Ayuk. They're working short passing game, getting the ball in his hands. He gets a lot of volume work. He's a good pickup on the waiver wire.
Sterling Shepard or Devontae Parker?
I would go with Shepard just because he was a wide receiver 3 in the preseason. He's back to healthy, and the Giants have to throw the ball.
This person needs to pick up one of these 3. Bernard, Hasty, DJ Dallas.
I would go to Hasty. He's one of my sleepers this week. I think Hasty could be the lead back for San Francisco. Jerick McKinnon's returning back to action. Both those guys are pickups, but Hasty has seen more action of late.
All right, and the last one, this texter needs 2. Zeke, Hasty, or DeAndre Swift?
I would go with Zeke and Swift. Again, you got reliable touches for Zeke, and Swift has been a running back too every week.
All right, Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com answering your Week 8 fantasy football questions. Jeff, before we let you run, some sleepers, waiver wire guys, under the radar plays for this week.
Okay, just a couple wide receivers. I think, like I said, every Atlanta, Carolina guy is available. Russell Gage, if you can get him. I think Henry Ruggs has been on the waiver way too much for Vegas. I think that they're going to get him more active. He's the best talent at wide receiver. Go ahead and pick him up. But mostly actions at running back. Mark Ingram's questionable, so Jake Dobbins and Gus Edwards are viable pickups. Aaron Jones could be out. Jamal Williams is still a pickup. We mentioned Gio Bernard. Don't sleep on a guy going on a bye. Chase Edmonds is going to be the starter for Arizona for about a month. Pick him up. He's a very top end. We mentioned Hyde. Pick up DJ Dallas. And also, if you can get Nick Chubb, who should be returning action soon for Cleveland, and they have a great playoff schedule, go and get Nick Chubb however you can.
All right, there you go. Week 8, fantasy football, the Sunday slate. Don't forget, get your guys in, get your bye week players out. And, of course, Jeff Pasquino from the footballguys.com answering all of your Week 8 fantasy football questions. Jeff, good luck, man.
Good luck, everybody. Enjoy the games.
All right, there he goes as we get you down another week here for the Fantasy Fix here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. And it's brought to you by the Piccalilli Inn on Route 206 in Chemung, home of South Jersey's best wings, ears, and tails. Get your game day favorites. Check them out online at piccalilli.com.